Repeat or revenge? It was revenge. Chris Eubank Jr. defeats Liam Smith via 10th round stoppage. The referee jumped in and stopped the fight towards the back end of the 10th round. You know, in my prediction video for this fight, you could tell I was on the fence, and I went with safety first, Liam Smith to win on points, because I felt that there was still questions of Eubank needed to be answered. He answered all these questions emphatically in this fight. This was the best I recall seeing Chris Eubank Jr. for many years. He looked rejuvenated in this fight. He looked like a man with a new lease of life. This was a far cry from the Eubank Jr. of 8-9 months ago, who was stopped for the first time against Liam Smith. It was also a far cry from the Liam Smith who fought Eubank Jr., because this Liam Smith looked slow, he was plodding, he was flat-footed. You need to remember, right, and this is not take away from Eubank Jr., we'll talk about his performance in a wee bit, but this fight was pushed back twice, not because of Eubank Jr., but because of Liam Smith. And it was stemming from injuries. Now, I wonder if Liam Smith knew that this was the only real fight he could take at this point, and knew that if he pushed the fight back again, it will be gone. And obviously it's a big payday for him. It's a fight where, well, you've already beat the guy, so you would be fairly sure that you're going to beat him again. And he went into this fight not 100%, because he didn't look right at all in this fight. He really didn't. He looked a shell of himself, truth be told. And bear in mind, it wasn't like the first fight was a punishing fight. He's come up from 154, so you can't say his weight. You can't really. He just looked like a shell of himself in there. He really did. As for Eubank Jr., he looked tremendous. You know, straight off the bat, the moves or the stance and the way he was holding his hands that he was doing with Roy Jones, which just looked so alien for someone like Chris Eubank Jr., that wasn't happening in this fight. He just seemed a lot more fluid, a lot more natural. But his jab, which is something that he's neglected over the years, well, not over the years, he used it with Roy Jones, and it was okay. It looked very snappy, very powerful, very accurate in this fight. Now, he's only been training with Eubank for what, 6 weeks, thereabouts, if even, a couple of weeks. So you wouldn't really see the benefit of him, you would have thought, instantly. And you probably still didn't, maybe not fully. But if that's him with a couple of weeks of Eubank, God knows what he'd be like after a year, because he looked phenomenal in there. He really did. I always felt that with Roy Jones, he was trying to almost mimic Roy Jones to an extent, and he was also trying to do what Roy Jones was telling him. And it just seemed to, I liken it that as a boxer, sometimes boxers can go through the gears. They can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Whereas Eubank just seemed to not know what gear to go into at any time. Instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, it'd be, is it 1, is it 5, is it 3? He just didn't seem to know what to do. He was just not what you want to see in there. In this fight, he just seemed to be able to go through the gears perfectly. The first round, he looked very sharp. His right hand was landing. It was more the same in the second round. It was the fourth round where Eubank Jr. started really putting the shots together. He was putting the shots together in the first 3 rounds. He was doing that well. He was having success with the uppercut. But the uppercut landed in the fourth round. He was able to drop Liam Smith with it. And Liam Smith was hurt. Liam Smith was actually quite badly hurt, because it was a big snapping uppercut. He ended up spitting his mouthpiece out in the corner, took their sweet time putting the mouthpiece back in, which obviously buyed Liam Smith a little bit more time to recoup. He was able to see out the round, but in the 5th round was more of the same, and Eubank really stuck it on Liam Smith in the 5th round, where he opened an absolute barrage of punches on Liam Smith midway through that round, and the referee was even having a look. Now, a lot of shots were kind of grazing Liam Smith. Some were getting through, some weren't. So the referee really couldn't have stepped in and stopped it there, because you're not going to stop a fight when shots aren't landing. Liam Smith was able to see the end of that. In the 6th round, Eubank Jr. did slow the pace down a little bit. I think he kind of maybe himself knew, right, I put too much of an effort in that 5th round, maybe more than I needed to, because I couldn't get rid of him. So he took a break for the next couple of rounds. He just mainly relied on his jab and just pot-shotting the odd time with the uppercut, but he was still winning the rounds clearly. He was still having success. Even the rounds where Liam Smith was getting back into the fight, you felt anyway, he'd have a faltering moment of success, a flittering moment of success, and then Eubank would be back on it. Just like that. It was all Eubank Jr. in this fight. And then towards about the 8th or 9th round, you looked at Liam Smith and you thought he must be injured. There must be something there. Not to take away from Eubank, again, great display of boxing, very impressed, but something just didn't look right with Liam Smith. And he was caught in, I think it was the 9th round, the 8th or 9th round, and his legs just didn't look right. It wasn't necessarily that he was hurt, but whatever way he put pressure down on his lead foot, his left foot, it just seemed to kind of give way under the weight. Now, he stayed upright, but his legs just didn't look right, and they didn't look right thereafter. So I wonder, was he carrying an injury to his legs going into this fight, and just it exacerbated as the fight went on? Because he didn't look right going into the 10th round. He seemed to have very poor mobility, and you know, you're in a boxing match. The idea of it is to knock your opponent out. You're in a contest like that, you need to be mobile. You need to be 100% mobile 100% of the time in order to have any success. And I don't think Liam Smith had that. He didn't have the mobility in the 10th round. Eubank Jr. was able to drop him again. Referee gave him a count. He ended up finishing it off in the 10th round. He opened up a combination. The referee jumped in and stopped the fight. I have no complaints with it personally. The writing was on the wall. He was taking way too many shots. He was taking jabs. He was taking left hooks to the head and body. He was taking uppercuts. He was taking right hands. He was hit with everything but the kitchen sink at times in this fight. So I have no issue with the referee jumping in and stopping a fight in the 10th round. Liam Smith did look a little bit like, oh, really? Stopping it? No, perfect stoppage. He was not going to win this fight, and Chris Eubank Jr. gets his revenge. He gets the win. And I think that this is Eubank Jr. This is his chance now. He's in with a good trainer. He's looking very good. He's still got plenty left in the tank, as we saw in this fight. It's time to make hay while the sun shines. Based upon that performance, if it was a full 160 against Conor Benn, he stops Conor Benn. He does. Based upon that performance, he stops Conor Benn. Simple as. There's talk of Kell Brook. At this point, I'd be picking Eubank over Kell Brook, definitely. There's options for Chris Eubank Jr. moving forward. It was last chance saloon in many ways, because you lose this, what do you do? He didn't lose it. He carries on. There's opportunities there. There's more fights. With Liam Smith, you know, even though he won the last fight, you did get the impression that the loser had a lot to lose, you know, more so than just taking an L. Like, where did they go? And I don't know where Liam Smith goes, truth be told. Based upon that performance, I really don't know. And to be honest to God, sure, I don't know. Not take away from Eubank, fantastic performance, absolutely tremendous, very impressed. Would Conor Benn and Eddie Hearn even want the fight after that performance? Because Eubank looked tremendous. I really did. I was really impressed with how he looked. He handled the adversity well. This is a fighter who has shown mental fragility in the past. He's gone back in with the guy who stopped him. He handled the adversity well. He boxed to a brilliant game plan. Credit to the team. And he came off with the win. My hat off to Eubank Jr. if I had one. Tremendous performance. Liam Smith is a warrior. I have a great amount of respect for Liam Smith. I hope whatever he does, it's the right decision for him moving forward. Other than that, that's all I got to say on this. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. For now, I will leave you with that. Peace.